Remember, please hit like and subscribe for me. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go.
Hi everyone. Today is Monday, November the 17th, and this is the Moneyball Morning Report for the Benzinga Pro platform. We're taking a look at the ES, the E-mini S&P 500 futures, and what we are seeing this morning is a very congested pocket of inventory accumulation. In a wide range, we can see that we are accumulating around 6,800 on the top and 6750 on the bottom. So we've got about 50 points of congestion. That's fairly wide. Our gamma flow levels, we've got our call wall for the 0 DTE at 6,800. So that's probably why they are rejecting that zone. The 0 DTE put wall is well below it at 6,700. It sits there. Value area high, 6880. Value area low, 6750. That's probably why we've got our support zone. What are we looking at today? Well, we have a reflexive bounce off of our baseline from Friday. Last week, what happened was we had that reflexive bounce. Pre-market, we started buying, and then by the time the day opened, we had some inventory correction, and then it moved up. This time around, we've got the move up, but a lot of heavy congestion. It looks like a bigger version of this formation here from last week, Monday. So in general, I would expect price action to hold a bit steady. Momentum is flat to slightly positive. We've got a little bit of negative pressure here at the volume by price and time, but it's essentially a flat line. There's nothing dramatic in the motion. The 4 a.m. candlestick has been pretty noisy over the past days. There's a lot of stuff going on in the EU and England. And so this fade is the opening of their markets. What do we expect? Well, I think that's a tough one today. I expect in general sideways patterns. I do. The dynamic cloud says we potentially are looking bullish. My thought is that's a fair bet, right? The bounce off of 6750 into 6,800 during the course of the day. If we lose 6,740, the price action is going to fade. The big call walls remain well above us, 7,000 for the call wall and 6,500 for the put wall traveling on the weekly formation. So a little bit sideways, pullbacks or buy zones, and you want to stop thinking about pullbacks if it loses 6740. Just let it collapse into where it's going if you're looking for longs. If you're looking for shorts, topping formations will work here with, 6803 as a potential area you're going to run into resistance. If it breaks through that 6803, 6804, chances are we are back up in this pocket. But very sideways, very, very sideways. It's going to be a choppy day. And we have Nvidia earnings coming around the bend. I think a lot of traders and hopefuls are going to be sitting watching this one. So let's move now to the NQ. What we have up here is the big monthly/weekly call wall, 26,000. The low edge put wall, 24,000, so 2,000 points between those two. The 0 DTE call wall actually sits right with the VWAP over time, and that is 25,600. The 0 DTE put wall is 24,800. Now, remember how crazy this looked last week. They have shifted the walls, and now everybody's right in range. As long as price action stays in between these two edges, the sellers are going to be very happy. So what are we looking at? Well, overall trend, we're building a pressure event, right? We are making higher lows. We are underneath the VWAP, however, and we are sitting right at a baseline of support / old resistance sitting right here. However, the pocket of congestion or inventory accumulation, as I like to call it, forgive me folks, allergies constantly, would be in the region around 25,000 to around 25,330. Notice they tried to push up, but supply was here. So this is a look above and fail. That's a great way to say, hey, let me see if this is going to hold. If it comes back into this area, I can short it to the bottom of the box. That's a very easy way to take that trade, very, very systematic, and it helps you in that inventory event. Now, could they possibly hold here? Yes. Could they possibly fail here? Yes. But what I do know is right here at 25,000, they're bouncing. So I'm looking for closer to a sure bet that they're going to bounce, and I'm going to look where the last time they were bouncing was. I'm not going to get in front of the bus here because that's, a lot of risk. I'm going to wait for it to come down and go long in the zone. Momentum up to flat. Same thing with volume by price and time. No, nothing dramatic at this juncture. Okay, let's head to Bitcoin. So, as I mentioned last night on market kickoff, they were really going to try and hold this 95,000 area. And wow, have they ever. This is an absolutely epic fight. Notice they are underneath the put wall. That means the put sellers are underwater because selling a put is a bullish position. They're way underwater here, so they're trying to hold it. Right now, the VWAP is flat, but it is putting in a floor. That said, if they lose that floor, the next gamma line is 91 and then 90,900. So they're okay. Momentum is lifting, but it's still in negative territory. So bounces are still sells and motion is fairly negative. Trend is negative. So these bounces are going to sell. Now, here's the thing. We can have negative trend, negative motion, all kinds of things. And the bounce can be incredibly dramatic in these markets that are very volatile. So don't think to yourself, oh, okay, bounces are sell zones. I'm just going to start selling at the first little bounce. No. Here's what you want to look at. When the price action starts breaking the inventory accumulation box, that's when you start thinking about, hang on, maybe I should be buying and forcing this price action, running with the price action to the north. This is easily, we're looking at 96,270 being that break point, the anchored VWAP, the close of the VWAP from yesterday, last night is 96,900, value area low all the way up at 99, value area high at 107, the 0 DTE put wall is up here at 107,000. The call wall is 110,000. So everybody under here is underwater. The goal is to watch the put wall drop or for price action to accelerate to the north. The heavy put support on the week / month is 100,000. So they are really underwater. We could have another deep cascade or a very large reflexive bounce. Watch the pockets of inventory to tell you what's going to happen, right? Now, as you move up out of here, you're going to have another little pocket. So it could be a very jagged move to the north into these inventory spots. So just be careful, all right, in terms of trading Bitcoin. Let's go to oil. All right, sitting in oil, we've got price action a little bit up over 60. That's the VWAP of this formation. We've just spent so much time in this pocket. Our 0 DTE and the big call resistance are both sitting at 61. That means the call wall from 63 last week has come down. The put wall and the 0 DTE put support, interesting, both sitting at 59. So traders are looking at price compression. We've got a little bit of bullish motion in general, right? We can draw the line and go, I can see I'm making higher lows. VWAP, however, is very sideways. So what you know is that there's an inventory pocket building between $59.40 and $60.50. Very big. So what's the trade? Deep dips or buys, big spikes or sells. And if you want to play around the middle, good luck. Momentum is flat in general. We've got a little bit of downside pressure here in volume by time and price. Other than that, it's a bit of a mosh pit. So you want to be super careful right there trading here, right? I would wait for these low edges to come in and test. Very, very messy. Let's take a look at gold. Also chopping around that level. John Hoagland has this level also at 4,070, 4,074, something like that. It happens to be the 0 DTE call wall today in gold. And so the traders who are short the call are looking for price action to fade to the north. Trend is also down. The VWAP is above us at 4150. Gosh, I'm so sorry about my voice, folks. The call wall is at 4,200. And in general, it's this downward pressure events. So what are they doing in the overnight? That's the question. Big inventory pocket. Could it be even higher than that? Yes. But what I'm seeing is a trend down. We have a little bit of a mixed bag here. We have a trend line down and a trend line up. So this one is likely coiling, right? Going to break in some direction or another. Thanks, Captain Obvious. I know. It's a mess. So what do? You wait for it to break out of the inventory box if you don't want to trade in a range. If you want the motion, take a look. Here's another inventory box in the past, right? Here it is. As long as it's in the inventory box, they're moving up and down. The second it breaks out, you can collapse into a 5-minute chart, 2-minute chart, a 1-minute chart, whatever you want, and just see if it's a look above and hold, right? Instead of a look above and fail, and then you're off to the races with everybody else. You can also remember this inventory box and draw yourself a line that says, when it comes back to the top of the box, I want to see if it holds because I can take another long. There you have it. Once you start focusing on where these inventory events accumulate, you'll be much better off in figuring out where price action is running to. It's a very, very solid tool. And inventory does have to accumulate before it begins to distribute. And especially in these choppy boxes, our inventory accumulation can last a pretty long time. So, speaking of which, the inventory in SPY is accumulating somewhere around 675, 675.30, and 670. I would say it's probably 671. 671. So if it loses 671, here's the put wall for the 0 DTEs at 670. And so they're going to try and hold this, but notice, just because it's there doesn't mean it's going to stay there the whole day. But it is going to try to act like a magnet into the end of the day because the traders will force price down, right? They'll continue selling when it breaks the wall, and then they'll start to unwind and try to push price back up. That's what they're doing. Call wall today, 680. The weekly call walls stay at 700. The put wall is at 660. That remains solid for the week. Overall, folks, pay attention to price. We have volatility that is spiking, and although it feels very big, at the end of the day, we very often have these big moves up, big moves down, big moves up, big moves down, and we're stalling out. So watch this put wall today. It's going to be pretty important. If they hold the put wall and begin to move up with force, that's a great place to try a long. And if it moves past 675, we could head to the call wall at 680. So that would be very exciting if we had that kind of motion today. Not sure we will, especially since Nvidia is looming, and that seems to be the stock that's going to save the world. All right, stay frosty, folks. I'll see you on the streams.